Hello everybody, and welcome back to another tutorial in camera and lens repair. And this time I will do another video. It will say this about the oil. If there was oil on the aperture plates in Nikkor Pre-Ai 50mm and 1.2. Yes, it will work. So let's see what we can do about it. This lens that I just have made the focus with, so it works amazingly good, is absolutely smooth and as it was new. But if the case was that the aperture plates in here was a bit sticky, it will say if one moved the aperture ring and nothing really happened. It's not the case in here, but I will just show you how you can fix that. So let's see. Yeah, we need some tools, and we need 2 screwdrivers. Maybe we only need 1, but it should be JIS. And those are from Moody Tools, which I have buy them on ifixit.com. They have actually a good price, in my opinion. I'm not sponsored by any companies at all. I just buy my own stuff and whatsoever it is. But they're really good quality. And we need a 2mm and a 2.5. Maybe we only will use the 2.5, or we only will use the 2.0mm. So let's see. Some dentist tools, which are very handy, especially this one with the rounded corners, and also those pointed tip can be very useful. And again, I have never scratched a lens element with my tools whatsoever. They have a 1.2mm flathead screwdriver we also need. This is a German brand called Vera, which I like. There are many others, so and a tweezer, which I have specially made for working with aperture plates. It's just a curved tweezer, which I have simply put together and then grind it on each side, so it's really thin and is really good when putting in the plates or taking them out. Some cotton buds and nail polish remover, and of course we need some cleaning fluid, which will be Isopropylalcohol 99%. And no, this is not some furniture thingy. It's actually a homemade tool for taking off the front ring here. This one, not the nameplate. Oh yeah, we need some tools to take that off too. And it could be something like a rubber stopper, or not to forget those rubber cones from Japan Hobby Tool. It's also very handy, but sometimes I prefer the rubber stopper because the size here is really good. They're really sticky, and you can get them where you can get wine and beer, things for home brewing, and there are many different sizes. I've just cut out the surface here so it fits on a lens surface. Not scratch the lens surface, and on the other side too, just for different lenses. Now back to this. It's just a rubber things, gaskets, just like some of those from the hardware store. But the point is, with this one, which I have cut out so it can fit over the front ring here. And the only reason is, when set to infinity, I can simply unscrew the very narrow ring here. This one, not the very not the outer ring, but the next ring, which you can see here. And it needs some rubber friction to actually unscrew it. You cannot just unscrew it by your fingers. Well, maybe if it doesn't sit too tight, but if it does, I have simply made a hole here around 60 millimeter. So, and put in this rubber thingy, so I can make a lot of pressure on and simply unscrew the front, the front of the focus ring. I don't know what it's called, but so let's jump into it. I haven't been into the aperture system, but just on the lens assembly set some mark where it will be put into correct position. Now, in my opinion, it's best when you take out the front here next the ring. It's not necessary to take off the name plate itself, maybe it is, and then take off the 5 screws here around the back. Now let's jump into it. Set the lens to infinity and use a rubber tool here. I have tried this tool here, but it's simply in a wrong angle. So in my opinion, it's not good for that. The diameter in here is not too big enough for that. So therefore I made this. But if it's too tight, we need the nail polish remover with acetone. Yeah, it stinks a little, but I have a fan beside me, on my one side, which simply blows the fumes away. So, and just have a lot of nail polish here, nail polish remover, and let it suck in, because they have some back then used thread lock, kind of. So let it suck in, and hopefully it can soften the thread lock. And then unscrew it. Have a good pressure on it, and then unscrew it. And with this tool, is actually very, very good, in my opinion. The only reason I have to unscrew this is that if we set the lens to near end, we will find a tiny screw here. This tiny set screw needs to be unscrewed, and in my opinion, it's better than you unscrew it, because there's not so much aluminum that it's screwed into. So with a 1.2 millimeter flathead screwdriver, you simply unscrew it. It's really tiny, so don't miss it. If you drop it somewhere, it's really, really tiny. So you can see here, really, really small. Put it somewhere in the ring here, so you can find it again. Now, then we can unscrew the front ring here, and for that, if it helps, this one can be put over here and you can stretch it a little, or you could just use some. You can see it will work pretty good, and then have a good grip on it, and then unscrew it. You could also just unscrew it by hand. It doesn't sit that tight. Now, next thing is that we can actually just pop the lens assembly out in my hand. But set the lens to something 16 here, and then pop it into your hand. So, a few things when we put the lens assembly into the focus assembly. It can be a little problem if you have to catch the fork here and the other fork here. They're two different, and they have to sit, of course, different. And also this one here. So we'll probably take off the mount when I put in the lens again. Now here we see the actual lens assembly, and before taking anything apart, it's really important to set some marks, because I do not have a repair manual for this lens, and I don't think they maybe will describe it something. Now there are 3 screws around here, on there, and there. Those 3 screws hold the aperture assembly in place, so it will not just fool around. And before taking it apart, it's really good to set a mark here, not only on the outer of the tube here, but also in here, in this gap, and those have to sit in line, so you know exactly where they should sit when you put it back into again. I also set some other marks, and that's only for the assembly. The assemble, because it will make it a lot easier. So I set a mark here. This is the small screw that will move the aperture plates in here, and this is actually the connection to the aperture ring fork. The other one is for the connection to the camera. It will say this pin here and this fork in here. And when I assemble it again, I simply scratch. Yeah, you think, okay, don't damage the lens, but that's make it a lot easier. So I set 2 small marks here on each side of this pin, because then it's easier to catch when putting into the focus assembly, especially when you see it on the back of the lens. You cannot see anything. So how would you determine where to put the things in? So that's why we need to take off the mount when assemble the lens again. So next thing is, this is not a screw, it's an adjustment eccentric. So don't think about screwing it, even if it looks like a screw head. We need to take off the this front in here, and for that the jab and hobby tool is really good, because it fit perfect. So simply unscrew it, and then it comes out here as a ring, and nothing will come out at this point. So we need a tool to actually one thing, don't set the lens, the back of the lens, directly onto the surface here. Face it like with the back of the lens upwards, because the curved lens, it will say the convex part of the lens is actually out of the edge, so it will be, when you put it on a table or desk, hard surface, it could probably do some scratch or so. So set it like this. But we need a tool here to unscrew the retaining ring that actually holds the front of the lens, or maybe not. You see, there is a ring here, there's a retaining ring here with the two nuts, one there and one there. So probably it is, I mean, it could be, since I haven't been into it, I only set those marks around here. So let's see if we can get into it. Nah, it will not work. I need another tool, which will be a bigger one. It's just a compass, which I have filed and grind. And it's adjustable, so it's really good for that kind of work. So we can see in here and unscrew the retaining ring. And simply unscrew it and turn it over, and then the front lens and this no, it's not a retaining ring. I thought that. Well, one learned something new. So it is. Well, there will be another video about the cleaning lenses in here. I can see. Now we look into the aperture assembly, which we can see here. If we close the aperture, something like that, and we can see how it works. And of course, before taking anything apart, I will make a scratch in here, because it will make it easier for you to determine where should things sit when it's correct. And I will do it the same place like the outer here, and also in line, almost in line with the adjustment thingy. So set a scratch in here. No one will see it, so there's nothing to be worried about. But this was just make it easier when putting things in the lens again, because yeah, as you know, I haven't found a repair manual for this lens. There probably is somewhere. And this one here. So now I can actually unscrew those 3 screws here and take out part of it. And just clear off the table here. So, and you see there are some not thread lock, but it will some kind of a painting that will prevent the screws from unscrewing itself, and we will also do some kind of when assemble it again. Now it can be a little tricky, because you can see the screwdriver, even if I take the smaller one, there's still something painting in here, even if I just push in a little. So I will use some nail polish remover to soften the thread lock or whatever they have used, especially on the screw head, because then it's possible to so the screw will fit in there. It's not all of them, I can see, but you can see one can actually just wipe away the painting or whatever it is. Just let it suck in. Maybe we need another go. Don't do too much. So, and there. And now we can try to unscrew it. You see, sometimes it's better to use a little bigger screwdriver because it will fit better. And this case is one of those. Because if the screwdriver is too small, well, it could damage the screw head. So you have another problem. So there. And the last one. So one can actually, before start to unscrew, wiggle a little so the screw, the tip of the screw goes into the screw head and fit better. So there. And now another thing is that we need to unscrew this tiny pin, and for that I will use a 2mm flathead screwdriver. It's nothing special, just a good quality. And this is the screw that moved the part of the aperture assembly. So off with that. So take care of it. Just put it somewhere you can find it. Now, then it's possible, then it should be possible to actually lift up this ring here. And then we have to wiggle a little to lift it up gently. And that a dentist tool is actually very good for that. Maybe I should make a tool that could lift it up. I think it would be a good idea. And well, yeah, I could just turn it over, but I would like to see how it looks inside before I actually taking it apart. And here we are. Remember how it sits. So this is the last chance to actually see, okay, should it sit there or should it sit over here? That's why I set a mark here. And that's the important thing. So you know exact position of this one. And if you want to put the lens on, the lens assembly on something Well, you could just use some of those rubber tools and it acts as a good stand. So next thing is to actually take out some more stuff, and since I haven't been into it, I'm not quite sure, because they are different, some of those, but you can see in here how it looks when moving the aperture ring. This will happen in here. So it should be quite easy to actually take this ring out. And by using of two dentist tool, one should be able to gently lift it up, something like that, and now it's free. And it should sit like this. The gap is here and the hole is here, so it should sit like this in here. And now we are facing the inner of the aperture ring that actually moved the plates. I don't know what this plate it's calling with all the holes in. Maybe someone have a good idea for that. And also this will come out here, so one have to lift it up in a gently way, and for that I will think my dentist tool could do that. Maybe the blades will come with me, I don't know, but I could also just hold it and then push the blade out of the gap it sits in, and then lift it out. And it sits like this. And of course it will go this gap here where this pin go into. And well, in this lens it looks like fine. It's not a problem because there is no oil in it. But I will just take out all the things anyway. So to take out the blades, we can I could use this one, this special one here, which is in some cases are really good. Maybe I should zoom in a little. And just to pick it up and then take care of when lifting out the blades from the really tiny holes down here, and don't pull too hard on it. So sometimes it's also good to use a lens tool for picking up lenses. This is the tiny one from a company called Nordson. I don't know if they exist anymore, but you could try searching on a lens sucker, which probably will do it in a different way. But this one is really good with different tips, so one can actually just put it down and then lift out the aperture plates. It's really good in some cases, and because it will not at all harm the plates, as you can see here. Oh, so we just continue with this lens sucker. I mean, it could be aperture blade sucker, but you can see it's really easy in a way. I mean, we could try to use another tweezer. This is a very pointy one, and try to catch the pin, which sometimes is a bit difficult, as you see here. So that's why I sometimes prefer my special tweezer or the lens sucker. And then they are out. So and we just need to clean some little, and for that we will use a pair of, or two of cotton buds and just some isopropylalcohol. So if there was something, I mean there isn't any, but at least we can do something in here. And you might say, okay, why not take out the lens element, the lens assembly here on the back? Well, yeah, I could have done it, but since I will jump in and actually do a lens cleaning in another video, it should not be a problem. But of course, we could just unscrew it, in my opinion. So let's just do it. Yeah. So things are in correct place. Let's see what can work here. Nah, too big, too small, too it's not easy. Okay, so it's possible to unscrew it. That's really good. One of the, it's a back lens group which will, so don't put it on this side towards the table, but do it on the other side. Now then we have a full empty lens, I mean aperture assembly, part of it. Okay, there is some dirt in there, so there might be small amount, so we will just do some light cleaning, which will be fine. And with a cloth we can just clean the inside here and say that's all fine, and that's it for that. Now put in the blades and do the cleaning. Just put them in. They can only sit in one position, so there is nothing to be worried about. This plate that actually moves the aperture blades, there can sometimes be oil on it, and especially on the edge, so it will be a little tight. So just put that in too, and another lens cloth for some of the things. Where's my trees? Here. So there. And then it's absolutely free of oil. Looks better, yeah. Also, this ring can be a little oily, so just put it in and let it stay there for a few seconds, and then clean it. So everything has to run dry. There has to be no oil at all, in the aperture system. If there is, well, the pictures will be, well, overexposed or so. So, but where does the oil come from? Well, the only place it can come from is actually the focusing system. And now the blades need some to dry them out, and for that I will use my special tweezer and a lens cloth just to make it easier. Okay. And then I will always put the blades like they should sit, so it will be easier to actually remember. You can just try the other tweezer for this and pick him up. And now the blades are actually all done. So that's ready to put in the blades and get the assemble process. So hold on a second, and then put in the blades here. For that I can try to put the first blade in, and you will see it's all the small holes, not the two big holes here. I mean, actually, yeah, those two holes, this one and this one over here, this one here, so there and there. But there's only the small holes that we need to put the blades in. So one have to put them in there. A lens blower is also really good for that. So we go counterclockwise when putting in the blades. Actually, clockwise. The last blade we put in, well, how can you put it in? Yeah, there's one thing we need to do is this, the last blade we put in, I have to move out somewhere around here and then put in the very last blade there. Oh, sorry, there was one thing we just need to do. Of course, the very last blade I put in has to be under. So I just need to pull it out again. Or if I do so, here, put it under. Okay. It goes really good. Of course, this one has to be under it. Yeah. So as you can see, catch the little hole and then brush gently in. Try to catch the tiny hole. Can be a little tricky sometimes, but so it is. And align all the blades so it has an circular shape as much as possible, because it will be easier when putting in the plate that actually moved the blades. So it's almost a circular shape. So here we are. Now the gap here, I mean the small gap here on the side, I cannot come on now to focus. Come on. Okay, here. This gap where this pin will go to. So we have to turn it over here like this and put it in gently, and then we have to catch the small notches here, there, and hopefully get it into correct position. Now I can see some of it just pop out of their holes. Something like that. And then put in this here, hopefully getting into correct place. Whew. Ha. And then I have to turn this a little to catch the small notches, and maybe give some little movement, and then they fall into place, and then I can close and open the aperture. So that's fine. Now putting in the ring with the little tiny screw that actually make some movement, and yeah, has to sit some there, and maybe this tweezer will be good for that. Now I will use this one. A dented tweezer is sometimes really good with working with that kind of stuff. Doesn't seem to be the case. Not good. Well, you'll just do it in a different way. So let's see if I can do it in a different way. Yeah, I think it's possible. Lift up the ring here, and hopefully it will fall into place. So here it is, and then we actually need the tiny screw on the side, so things are correct, put into place. Yeah. Hey, it's not really that easy, even with a magnetized screwdriver. So here we are, back on track, and you can see there's no movement, of course, because I need to put this ring in. And there's one thing about one spring here that we need to actually have the correct orientation of. This spring here needs to press on the side, on the inside of the barrel here. So this one will have some kind of tension on it. So let's see how it will go. I have a mark here, which I set before I took it apart, and since I also have a mark here, I know where the screw will sit when I put it in. It will say something like that, and then I could actually just press this in down here and hopefully put it into correct place. The ring down here, on the other hand, let's just get that in order. This tiny pin here, down here, will, when moving the aperture, it will press on the side, on the outside of this pin here. And on the other hand, this tiny pin here will press on the side of the aperture movement pin. I don't know what it's called, but it must have a name, kind of. So where did my mark go? It sits there. Then put in the ring here, and then hopefully slide it correct. Yeah, I think it will be okay. Oh gosh. And the little tiny spring, things are not correct. I have to pull it out again. Damn. Something went wrong. And sometimes it happens. So, well, we will make it. See. The spring comes in a different way, in a different position. So it has to be there. This spring was on the wrong side. Let's say so. So I'll just try again. Where is my little mark? There. This spring has to sit there. And pressing on the side. Then putting it in. Hopefully it will work this time. I mean, we have to assemble the lens again, no matter what. Okay, I can see the point what's going on. Yeah, it's fine. Whew. Then it should be possible to lift this out here and then press further down. So the movement of this pin here is out here. Maybe I can move this a little. No, it's the other way around. So it has to sit there. Then I continue to press it down further by moving this a little. See? Then it should sit like this, and pressing on the on to this side of the pin. So here it is, and have some fingers on here when you look at it where it should sit. Oh, we have to load a screwdriver with a screw, because then it's easier when you're holding the tiny parts. Then I have to align the to the correct mark here, and you can see I can move it, and then it has to sit correct. If not, the aperture value will be wrong. And now, safe home. So I can move it, and actually I can move the aperture as it should. And if I move the pin here, nothing will happen. But if I move this pin over here, it will of course move and open again. So everything is correct. The only thing I need to do is some thread lock, and for that I will use some Loctite, which is actually, oh, not this one. I'll use the 243, which is a blue thread lock, and it will also be good. Just need a piece of paper. So I will just add a little on just a tiny drop. It will not be more than this. That is enough for this case. It's the 243. And I will not add it on the thread of the screw, but only on the side of the screw head itself. So just a tiny amount. So that's enough. And then one have to press a little down, so actually get things into correct place. And maybe I have to just fine-tune the aperture ring in there. But now all three screws are in, so it's easier to just check if everything is in line, which it looks like it is not fully correct. so it is there. And then tighten the screws. The marks, because you cannot determine where should things sit when it's correct. So now it actually works, and it's actually working better now. So there was some oil in the aperture system. So now I can add the back lens group in here and say that's fine. So, and then put in the front lens group. Just turn it over and use a well, we could actually just use this one, the front kind of tube barrel, and it will be easier to actually put it in, something like that. Then screw it in. Maybe if oh, I have to tighten the front lens. So what if I do so? Then turn it over like this, and then put the front lens group into place. That was actually a good idea. And then use my lens tool, compass, catch the thread by turning counterclockwise, so, and then screw it in. So, and then gently tighten it, and that's all fine. Put this ring on, and now everything is actually okay, and then gently tighten it. Now, then we need to put the lens assembly into the focusing system, and even if I have set a mark here on this pin, so it sits all the way over here, and that I at the same time put this pin all the way over where it should. You can see the two scratch. It will make it easy if I can catch it. If not, I need to unscrew the lens mount. But let's see, if I set it to 16, well, all the way over here, and then this pin, it can only stay there. So what I have to do is catch with this pin, adjustment pin, catch the gap here, and everything should be small here, should be fine. But if not, you can see it's a little difficult. You cannot. So the easy way is, and sometimes this is the best, by simply unscrew those 5 screws. And since I've been into the lens before to actually fix the focusing system, the screws are quite loose. But if not, if it was first time you was in the lens and should just clean the aperture plates, well, you will need some nail polish remover with acetone, and simply dip some nail nail polish remover on each screw head, so it will soften the thread lock. It's not the problem when you have been into the lens at first. And it's not that hard to do it, but it will make it a lot easier when putting in the lens assembly. So here we can see the fork here, which is actually, if we're looking from the back, it will catch this pin and actually move the aperture, as we can see here. So if I set this pin all the way over here, as long as it can, and the other pin here all the way over here, as long as it can, then set the lens to infinity. So here. Now it's the focusing system is a lot shorter, so it will be easy to catch the fork in here with this pin here, and that will just do so. So there, and actually we catch it there, and then we turn the lens over, but because I also have to catch the pin here and then slide it in, and then we just have to see if it's correct working. And it seems to be that kind of movement. Turn it over again and then put in the very front ring, then catch the thread, because it will prevent the lens assembly from falling out. So, and since I have set 2 marks here, maybe I have to adjust it a little, so it's actually around there. It doesn't really matter, because there is a lot of movement when I put the lens mount on. So one have to catch the pin down here and then put it over, and hopefully we can catch it. Where did it went? Okay. See there. And here we are. Then put the lens mount on and catch the holes, the 5 holes here for the lens mount, and then screw it in. You could use some thread lock if you don't want to go into the lens again. You could just use some 243 on each of the screws, and we can just show one. It doesn't have to be much, just a tiny amount of the tip of the screw. Everything is almost correct. Now the front ring needs to be tightened good, and then I can put in my tiny screw, set screw, that sits there, that prevent the oh, go away, that will prevent the front ring from moving. So set the lens to near end here, and then put in the screw, which is really tiny, and the thread is not so good, but we will make it. Unscrew, I mean put the screw in by unscrew it a little counterclockwise and then screw it in. Don't tighten it too much. So there it is. And then the last thing is to put on set the lens to infinity. It will be easier to put on this ring. Catch the thread. So. And with this amazing tool, simply screw it in and tighten it. So it is. And now my aperture is actually working. Yeah, I can see there is a difference in the movement. So it will be quite good, and now it is more smooth and good. So that was all for me. Hope you can use the info about this lens. So see you sooner. Bye bye.